it's tax season, baby. And that means a lot of Americans are about to get their refund and go, whoa, that used to be a lot of money. A lot of us have had the experience of getting a chunk of money, saying, I'm going to do great things with this, and then finding ourselves pretty much exactly where we were a few months later. So today, I'm going to walk you through a process to make sure you get the absolute most out of your tax refund, or any other windfall. I'm Ben with the YNAB team, and this is Sketchy Advice. Money advice that actually flipping works. Forgot my coins. So, why is it so easy to spend a windfall so quickly? Well, this study suggests that we just tend to think of windfalls as being different than the rest of our money. And this is because of something called mental accounting. Technically, a dollar is a dollar is a dollar, whether it comes from your paycheck or your grandma or you find it on the sidewalk. But we don't actually treat money that way. Think about how you feel if you find $20 in your jacket pocket versus $20 from your paycheck. They just don't feel the same. We think of the money in our paycheck as going towards our normal life, whereas money we don't really expect tends to go into a different account of treating yourself. And that's perfectly fine when it's a check from grandpa or $10 on the sidewalk. But these big windfalls like tax refunds or inheritances or bonuses or whatever, these are the kind of things that can move us from struggling to a place where we can finally start getting ahead. And yet that mental accounting can make it pretty difficult to actually do that. Here at YNAB, whenever we get money, whether it's from a paycheck or the IRS, we always walk it through the 5 questions. And if you're a seasoned YNABer who's like, okay, I know this already, well, now's actually a pretty good time to review, because these 5 questions help you treat these refunds like any other dollar, instead of some magic money that winds up slipping through your fingers. The underlying premise of the 5 questions is to give every dollar a job. When we get a big sum of money, it's easy to think of it as just this jar that we can pull out of for a while. And that's often how we wind up spending it down quickly. But with the 5 questions, we want to decide what every dollar is going to do before we actually spend it. And especially given the amount of economic uncertainty on the horizon, now's a really good time to make sure you're actually scrutinizing what your dollars are doing and not just pulling from the pile. Question 1. What does this money need to do before I get paid again? If you're already between jobs or having a struggle with income, this is probably already what you're thinking about doing. Making sure your basic needs are covered so that you can move on to another job or fix whatever is going on. But it's also worth thinking about if there are big pressing expenses you need to deal with right now. Is the car on its last leg? Are those credit card payments eating into your paycheck? Windfalls like these can help you knock these things out way more easily and provide some much needed relief. Question 2. Are there larger and less frequent expenses I need to prepare for? We like to think that we spend about the same amount of money every month, but that's just not true. These larger, less frequent expenses mean we have these big spikes in our spending. And setting aside money for them early like this actually helps to level out that roller coaster. Personally, this is how I always like to use these big windfalls. I like to look ahead to the things that I know I'm going to need money for eventually and just set money toward those things so I can take them off my mind. Not only do I not really have to think about them anymore, but it means that more of the dollars in my regular paychecks are getting freed up to go to other things. And it brings a lot of peace of mind, especially when things are feeling uncertain. And by the way, if you don't know what YNAB is, it is the world's one and only spendfulness app. An app that doesn't just tell you what bills you have and how much they cost, but an app that actually helps you give every dollar a job and align your spending with the things you actually care about. It is built to apply these 5 questions and help you get real control over your money. So if you'd like to check that out for yourself, you can go to ynab.com/sketchy to try it for 1 month completely free. Question 3, can I set aside any money for next month's expenses? Here at YNAB, we call this the resilience question because that's exactly what it gives you. The expenses you send money to with question 2 give you targeted stability in specific areas. But as I think we all know from the last few weeks, life can be unpredictable. Whether it's job insecurity or just expenses you didn't foresee or whatever, having money set aside for next month gives you some peace of mind. It gives you time to adjust when things go sideways. One of the most powerful things you can do with your money is getting a full month ahead of your expenses. What that means is that at the first of every month, every fund in your plan is fully funded. You've got every expense, every bill covered. Instead of having to put out fires with every paycheck, you get to ask yourself, what do I want this to do next month? And that little buffer, that little bit of breathing room makes a big, big difference for your peace of mind. On average, it takes most YNABers about 4 to 6 months to get a full month ahead, but with something like a tax refund or another windfall, you can leapfrog right into that state of resilience. Question 4. What goals, big or small, do I want to prioritize? I know I'm making it sound like you can't really do anything fun with this refund, but that's not true. The things that bring you joy, the goals that you hope to achieve, are really important for your mental health and your well-being. So I would encourage you to put at least a little bit of your money towards things you would like to see in your life. Whether that's upgrading your coffee setup or saving up for a big home renovation or just giving yourself some fun money to do whatever you want with. Whenever we get a tax refund, I always make a point to give Maddie and I both just $100 of fun money. Personally, I think of it as a little reward for being really intentional with the rest of our money. So even if it's just $20, make sure at least some of this money is going towards the things that bring you joy, not just the things that give you peace. Just because things are uncertain right now doesn't mean you have to stop dreaming or can't have fun. And finally, question 5, the most important question in times like these. You look at your plan and you ask, is there anything that I want to change? It's easy to think sometimes that once you make a budget, you just have to stick to it and there's no changing it. But there's no rule around that. There's no pencils down when it comes to making a financial plan. If you put $1,000 towards your vacation and then your fridge absolutely pees its pants, there's nothing stopping you from moving some of that money to fix that very important thing. During times where there's a lot of uncertainty on the horizon, it's easy to think you should just shove all your money into a big savings category and forget about it. That feels safest. But giving your dollars specific jobs will give you a lot more clarity about where you stand. And nothing that you assign is locked in forever. You can change your plan as many times as you want. The budget police won't find you. They're terrible at their job. With those 5 questions, your next windfall is going to be more of a win and less of a fall. Bye.